She is a financial planner and advisor.
She's the founder and president of Zinnia Wealth Management. It's also a popular radio show.
There's a way to have your money in the market and have protected growth.
This holistic approach will help people get to and through retirement.
Absolutely.
You have to change the way that you think. It's not about having these double-digit returns anymore. Things are changing, and you have to have an advisor that's keeping up with the changes.
Your outcome is going to become very desirable if you have some sort of coach helping you along the way.
And our next recipient from the Media and Communications XP, Sharice
Rivers.
Do not have to risk all your money in the market to survive, because it's about the retirement dream.
All right, guys. Sharice Rivers here with Retirement Coffee Talk, home of Zinnia Wealth Management, here for our weekly 3:30 Facebook Live show. Today's exciting because we have a couple of experts and guests that we are interviewing, and I'll bring them in just a few minutes. But thank you so much for tuning in. I want to give you a pregame because I have so much to talk about and not enough time, so I might have to cut it short depending on how many questions you have for our expert panel today. Just a brief start off. We're going to talk about the stock market a little bit later. We're going to bring in Jim Cramer and some buy-sell ideas. We're going to talk about real estate and mortgages. If we have time, maybe a little bit about Social Security. And then we're going to dive into what Governor DeSantis is talking about for plans of Florida. And we'll dive into that just a little bit later. So I want to go ahead and let you know, I say it every week, I'm here to inspire, educate, get you to retirement and beyond. And with that, we'd like to bring people on to see what they're seeing in the world of COVID-19 right now and how that is affecting them and how they can help you possibly. So let's go ahead and bring our experts on. We have here Danielle Griffin, and she is a realtor with Bricks and Mortar Real Estate. And we have Scott Shannon. He is the owner of NRL Mortgages. All right. How are you guys doing?
Very good. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So, Danielle, I'm going to start with you. We're going to talk about real estate and how you're showing houses virtually and actually still going into homes and, you know, what you're seeing in the buying world. Are people buying? Are they selling? But can you give us a little bio about yourself real quick?
Sure. I'm here with Bricks and Mortar Real Estate. I have been practicing with them for about 3.5 years. We are a boutique brokerage here in downtown Ocala. We have a small array of realtors that work individually with buyers and sellers, investors, and commercial brokers to guide them in their transactions in real estate. Currently, I have been serving on a 501c3 board. I work with community awareness within our community to kind of just put awareness out there that realtors have a heart for more than just selling real estate.
Got it. I might add, she is also my realtor. And I have, worked with many realtors in my time all across Florida, and she is hands down the best. When we talk about a fiduciary and a financial planner, if she had to use the word fiduciary, she is the prime example of a fiduciary in the realtor world. And so I give her all the props in the whole entire wide world. And so we're going to ask you a couple of questions in a minute. Thank you so much for being here. And then Scott Shannon, he is the man making mortgages, making money happen, refis. And so go ahead and do a quick introduction of you and your company.
Absolutely. My name is Scott Shannon. I've been in the mortgage industry since 2002. I started the franchise with NRL Mortgage about 4.5 years ago now. When we started with NRL, we grew from a 2-person operation. Actually, it was like a 3-person operation, and now we're up to a 20-person operation operating in 4 different counties, actually 5 different counties throughout Central Florida. And, just advising people, partnering with the best realtors in the area. And we're all about professionalism, making sure we're always closing our transactions on time and giving our clients wonderful advice to make sure they're making the right life choices when it comes to their housing and their finance options.
Fantastic. Great. So just so you all know, I am in middle of working with his company now, so I can't vouch for them yet, but I've heard lots of positive insight, and that they're the company to go with. So I'm excited to continue our relationship there. Okay, so back to real estate and what the realtors are going through today and all that. Can you tell us, what you guys are doing differently, Danielle, in the real estate world, showing homes and that kind of stuff?
Sure. It was quite different. We had to kind of embrace the change. All of us realtors in the county, we currently at our brokerage have little bags that we carry in our vehicle. We try to prepare our buyers and our sellers in safety. We want them to be safe. We want to protect them, but we want to do our job as well. So we have masks and gloves and sanitizer that we supply to them. We do virtual tours. We try to give as much distance in those tours as possible. So if we can do the Zoom meetings or a virtual tour for the buyer, put it under contract, and then allow them to come in during their due diligence period to be in the property, we will do that. If the home is vacant, there's more opportunity there to be in it, put it under contract, and be more aware of what it is. But it's been a task in itself, just trying to keep everybody safe. So I think that some realtors are, a little afraid to be out there on the forefront. I've come across realtors that have had to stand outside because of their own health concerns.
Sure.
So we just kind of embrace it together, think of everybody and their health, and just do what we can to try and keep the market moving.
Sure. Now, is this a good time to buy? I heard and I read that people were, taking their homes off the market, and now they're holding off. Are people really doing that? Are they not putting the homes on the market and selling? And are you seeing a lot of buyers?
We are actually seeing a ton of buyers. I know I can speak just personally, but our brokerage itself is slammed with buyers. You got to think that we are a rural, Marion County is a major city, and most people are seeing the appeal of not being in these tight-knit cities. They've been on lockdown upstate and in the northern states, and they're ready to kind of branch out and get somewhere where it's not so close-knit. And so I've worked several relocating transactions, people relocating from different states up north, and just various things like that. Also, people still have life circumstances. They still, may need to change jobs. They, are still outgrowing. Some people are getting elderly and have to go into nursing homes, and it's not economical for them to continue and hold on to those properties. So they need to go on the market. Their families need that income to help support them. So those are the type of transactions that I've been seeing and dealing with. But I would say there's definitely a good amount of buyers out there. They're looking for property, and actually our inventory is very neglected. We need sellers to sell their properties.
Right. Yeah, we just sold a property like a day before COVID-19 was announced, so I've got really lucky there.
Yeah.
Are you seeing, is the closing process taking longer, like with the homes?
Not generally, no. What I understand, it's when you go into the bigger banks and the bigger companies that have an influx of transactions that are coming in. They don't have the manpower to actually work those in a timely manner. Sometimes you may see that a transaction goes over because an appraiser couldn't get to it on their deadline, or surveys couldn't be provided, because we are still moving. Our market is still actually pushing along. So our other affiliated people, inspectors and stuff like that, are still very busy as well. So at the most, I would say that's why something would take a little bit longer, but not just because of like mortgage companies or any kind of guidelines that have changed or anything like that. And if I remember correctly, Scott has been on point and hasn't had to delay any of his closings at his mortgage office because of COVID at all. So
that's great. Yeah, when you listen to all the noise and all the news on TV, one day they say one thing, the next day they say one thing. They're just saying, there's 30% less closes, and because of all the furloughs, 40% of people couldn't close. So, and I'm sure it's dialed into different cities and states. I'm sure that has a big part of it. Maybe California. Yeah. So do you think there's different states and cities that are being affected more so than others? And how do you see Ocala being affected, really?
So real time, not talking about any numbers on charts and stuff like that, because like you said, those are just broad numbers that, Florida numbers showing low numbers for March and April. It's accurate, and maybe there is a little bit of a decline. Nothing precedented for this. Nobody's ever gone through this comparison. We weren't expecting it. It's very, unknown. So the fact that we're still trucking along strong, I feel like is really promising for the future. Maybe it's not as great as it was at the beginning of the year before COVID, but we're still doing well. As far as post-pandemic, post-COVID and so forth like that, there's real no expectation on the market for me. I just hope that we are able to continue to move along as we have. But you also have to keep in mind, for me, what I'm expecting is that home searches are going to look a little differently. I work from home now, so maybe if I was buying a home, my new home may need a private office, whereas prior to COVID-19, I may not have needed that. So people and their circumstances are changing, so buying is going to change. As far as people relocating, I still think that we have a lot of things in our county that are attractive to them. I mean, we're very rural and we have a lot of industry coming in, so that's jobs. We have just a lot going on, and our population is lower than some of these big cities, and our COVID numbers are lower. So that's attractive as well.
Yeah, no doubt. What would you recommend to somebody who is thinking about buying a house right now, but is putting on the brakes because they're not sure if the real estate market's going to go down further and they should wait, or you find, is this still a great time to buy a home?
Well, I can speak personally. 2 transactions come to mind. I put a house 3 weeks after COVID. I put it on the market with the expectation we have no idea what's about to happen. I priced it per the comparables, and I did it like normal. It went under contract in less than 2 weeks for almost right at full price, and it appraised. Now that was early on. So now we're looking ahead to a new build contract, and it appraised less. So we may see a little decline, but I would say if you have the need to sell your home, there are buyers out there that want to buy it right.
Okay. And then you're still recommending this is a good time to buy. We're not waiting for a real estate market to just plop. That's where you get your crystal ball out.
Yeah, no, I expect that. I mean, we've done good so far. We're fortunate and blessed in our community and in our area. So maybe Scott will have that crystal ball for you.
Yeah, definitely. This is my take on it. If real estate markets, explode, literally go downhill, explosion, not going upwards. I think more people will move to Ocala because it's more affordable. And we have lots of jobs to offer because Ocala is just fantastic at bringing jobs. So who knows? Maybe it does help Florida and Ocala grow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have to tell all the viewers a little something about you before we move on to Scott. I'm a business owner. I'm really, really busy. And when I decided and I picked Danielle to be my realtor, I just told her, I have a lot of things going on. I'll try to make things as swift and quick as possible. For you other business owners who are on, or just other people, I know we have some single ladies that sometimes, you want to sell, you're not sure to sell, or you're not sure who to trust. I didn't have to do one thing when it came to getting an appraiser in my house, to getting the things fixed in my house, to anything. Danielle was amazing. She came to me at the right time, and she has a value. I said she should charge for those extra things she did for me personally. And I'm not the only one she's done them for. So if you guys are looking for somebody who's just going to work for you, she is the woman for sure. How can people get a hold of you if they have some questions on, buying, selling, and that kind of stuff?
Well, I'm mobile. So the best point of contact would be to call or text or reach out to me directly on my phone. My number is 352-427-1917. You can always go to our bricks and mortar website. It is www.bam, as in bricks and mortar, ocala.com, or Danielle@bamocala.com. So, but I would say pick up the phone, give me a call, and let me know how I can serve you better.
Yeah, and after this, just so you guys know, You can also call my office or submit it at zinniawealth.com, and I can get you the information in case you didn't catch that phone number. Okay, well, stay there because I know we're going to be floating back between you and Scott. So, Scott, it is your turn. Are you ready?
Oh, I am always ready.
You are already ready. Very good.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is like a hot topic. Should we get a mortgage right now? Should we not get a mortgage right now? What are you guys doing differently, during this COVID-19 pandemic, and, how's it affecting the mortgage world?
Okay, well, let's start with should you or shouldn't you get a mortgage right now?
Yeah.
As a financial advisor who invests people's money and a stock market that's way down in price, I would tell you that we're probably looking at a long-term upside in the market at some point, and the interest rates on mortgages are at all-time historic lows. So if you were choosing between paying cash and taking out a mortgage, unless you're just so filthy rich that buying a $200,000 or $300,000 house is just like pennies to you, then you should keep your money invested with someone like yourself, hopefully yourself, and take out a 3.25% 30-year fixed, or 15 years is in the high twos right now. That I've locked in as low as 2.5% for people on 15-year mortgages.
Wow.
So with money being that inexpensive, why wouldn't you leverage your cash and take out a mortgage that's tax deductible on the interest? I don't really understand folks, especially the older retired folks that we work with a lot of, who take their life savings because they don't want to have a mortgage payment and invest it in a house. If you get scared, you can always pay off the mortgage as long as your cash is there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why wouldn't you at least maybe leverage 50% on a mortgage, with the knowledge that if the market improves and you start making more money, great, it pays the mortgage payment for you. And if it doesn't, you get a little scared, you can always pay off the mortgage later. You know what I mean? Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so retirees, they like that thing of entering retirement without having any debts or paying anything off. But I get what you say too, because I'm a big person when it comes to big thinking. You should leverage your money when you can leverage it. It's just like my saying, when you get it free, almost use it. So there's probably no other time in the baby boomers world that we will ever see interest rates this low ever again. So what you say is so true, because interest rates are low. It's like they're giving you free money. So
it is free money,
basically. Giving us,
it's as close to free money as you can get. Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
And so I've had a lot of clients say, Sharice, I have a mortgage and I want it. I'm thinking about taking $100,000 and paying it off, and the interest rate's at 5%. So if somebody says, hey, I have a mortgage right now, I want to pay it off in 5 years, and my interest is 5%, what would you say to that now? You'd probably say the same thing, right?
I would. I mean, I hate to say it, but I follow a lot of very wealthy financial people, and they would say that that's poor man's thinking. I hate to say it, it's not to be insulting, but they would say that that's poor man's thinking, because the rich and wealthy will always leverage their capital. And people who, the average Joe Blow who's never been educated about this in the proper manner, it's not a knock against anybody. Of course, it's the American dream to have a house owned free and clear, right? But if you have a large amount of money sitting somewhere else earning 8, 10%, 7%, even 6% even, and you have a mortgage that's at 3.5 fixed or 2.5 fixed on a 15-year loan, keep it as long as you just keep it and let your money grow. And if you ever get really scared, you can always pay it off. The other thing too, with the rates being this low, is the fact that just, let's say, I want to say 6 months ago, when the rates were in the low and mid 4s and approaching 5s, think about how much more buying power you have as a first-time home buyer. If you a $200,000, I don't have it in front of me on a calculator right at this second, but on a $200,000 house, that's a difference of about $150 a month in your payment. So if you were comfortable with a payment on that $200,000 house 6 months ago, you could easily potentially afford a $250,000 to $300,000 house now. And the better homes will typically appreciate and hold their value longer too. So
by the way, the husbands aren't liking that comment right now. by upgrading to a house. Hey, by the way, that's the retiree's dream. We're going to upgrade to a nicer house. So I'm glad you said that. So keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, why not? And especially the folks who are moving down from up north. I mean, they're used to, Long Island. We're seeing daily Long Island, Massachusetts, all these people who have lived in a 1,200 square foot house that is worth $800,000. They're selling it for $800,000, and then they're buying a $300,000 or $400,000 house in our market, which is 10 times the size or 5 times the size of the house that they lived in for 20 years, but then they're paying cash for it. Well, what if you took that $300,000 or $400,000 that you're paying cash for it and invested it in a smart financial growth plan? Your nut is still there. You're still, and it's growing, and leveraging maybe 50% of it on a mortgage is just wise, and you can always pay it off later too. So there's so many different ways to skin the cat when rates are this low. It's just a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, I always say there's a bunch of different directions you can take to get to the same place, but it's all about how much money we keep in our pocket. So,
right.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, if you have a home and do you recommend like a 1031 exchange at all? In case they have
For
lots of
investment properties? Are you talking about investment property 1031?
Let's just say somebody has 2 homes. Let's say they live here in Ocala, but they also have a home in Ohio, and they've had it for 30 years. There's no depreciation. It's all going to be capital gains. When
Right.
They're scared to sell it. They're tired of being a landlord, but maybe they want to upgrade part of their house. Do you guys recommend taking part of that money and putting a 1031 exchange into another home?
Yeah, well, I mean, we've done that several times. You don't see it as much as I would actually think you would see it in our market. I think it's because the average person isn't well educated about it. They don't know what steps they have to do to get it done correctly. But absolutely, I mean, it's huge tax shelter, and you're putting it back into something that hopefully will have growth. And so why wouldn't you want to do that?
Yeah, I just want to add, I will talk about 1031 exchanges this weekend on my radio show, everyone, so you kind of get a little bit more educated there, because it's definitely another strategy along with using leverages and mortgages. Okay, now refi. I had a client who said, Sharice, I'm thinking about refinancing, but where's the break even point? Like, what year are we break even? Because there's all the fees that are also tacked into it.
Right.
So let's just say they have 15 years in a mortgage. They owe $150,000 less on their mortgage, and they want it paid off in 5 or 6 years. Is it worth refining now, or?
It just depends on what their goal is, right? So I think in Florida in general, because we don't have state income tax, but what we do have is we have mortgage intangible tax and document stamps and all these fees, taxes that have to be paid every time you buy or sell real estate, okay, or refinance that real estate. So like, I'm from New York originally. I've been down here now 15 years. But in New York, it's the cost of entry for a refinance is about half of what it is in Florida. So in Florida, you really have to have, I'd say, in my opinion, about $150,000 mortgage at an interest rate that's at least 1% higher than what the going rate would be on that mortgage now, to have about a 2 or 3 year break even on your closing costs. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. So I thought it was more like 4 or 5 years, but it depends on where the points
It depends
are.
on the rate difference, right? Like if you're going from a 6 to a 2.5 and you only have 15 years left, the big one too, for certain people who, like I've had several clients who have 5.5%, 6%, and they're maybe 5 years into a 30-year loan, and they're not struggling to make that payment. They're very financially comfortable. So I'll put them in 15 years at a 2.625 and knock 10 years off your term. And that's where the big savings is. Because like my good friend of mine, I'm doing their refinance right now. We did exactly that. He still saved $50 a month on his payment. Not much to worry about, right? Mm-hmm. But the term cut, because it was a $300,000 loan, the term cut down to 15 years was $180,000 difference in total repayment. Monster money, huge money.
Yeah, I talked about that a couple of weeks ago, and I highly, highly recommend it. Why give that money back to a bank when you can keep it in your pocket? And useless leverage now. I'm all about, taking those 25, 30-year mortgages and refinance them into that 15. I think
Yeah,
that's
as long as it's
one of the
affordable
best
for the person.
opportunities.
Yeah.
I mean, most
Yeah.
people who are listening are trying to find out ways and opportunities to save on taxes, save on, or get the next best stock, or how to create income. But it's all realms. I mean, think about the bucks that you save by doing something like that. I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars. I had recently somebody come to me and say, I'm buying a $2 million home, Sharice. Should I pay cash from the savings account, or should I get a mortgage? I said, you're one of the smartest people I know. Why wouldn't you get a mortgage at 3% rate? I know he can get some points knocked off with the bucks he's had sitting there. And he's just like, I just had to hear it from somebody. So sometimes people just need a second voice, just need to hear it from somebody. And because I was like, well, I could take that $2 million and put it in a 4% fixed rate, and we still have our money later, and then you have your mortgage paid off. So now you have, it's a win-win.
Or the cash pays your mortgage for you, right? I mean, the cash pays, if you invested correctly, the cash earnings are going to pay your mortgage payment for you. So, yeah.
And here's the deal to the listeners. This is not always the case. There are times when interest rates are so high that, no, this is a really dumb idea, okay? Because if interest rates are 5.5% and you're a conservative investor in the market and you're only averaging 5, it's still not that bad. But as interest rates go up, and they will, we've historically had them low, and they've been coming down over 40 years, I am telling you, you're missing a window of opportunity on this gig, for sure.
And I think it will last through the election for sure. Definitely a little bit after that, until we feel, really feel comfortable with this whole COVID thing. And then would you agree with that? You're going to probably know a little bit better than me.
Yeah. Interest rates. Well, I think interest rates will stay down at least till 2021. I've heard interest rates staying down even longer, but I think they're going to slowly steady, bounce up and down. So that's a note that I want to add. Isn't it better to go ahead, if you're thinking about buying or doing a refi, to go ahead and get all the stuff ready with a mortgage broker and wait for that mortgage broker to say, okay, not yet, now's the time. It might take a couple extra weeks or a month. I mean, is that why they go to you, so that you can say, or
time it a little bit?
Time is like this.
I would say, we were timing it a couple months ago. Now it's just lock them if you got them, because it's just, they really can't go any lower. If they go any lower, we're all going to be in a lot of financial problems, because they're having to do that for a major reason, right? So let's all pray and be hopeful and glass half full type people, and assume that they can't go much lower than where they already are. I mean, what's the Federal Reserve rate right now?
Low. Low.
Yeah, it's like zero.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, in the 10-year treasuries, so they really can't. Yeah, it's a joke. So they really can't go much lower, because otherwise you're taking away one of the major tools the Fed have to control it. What if we do have a resurgence of Corona in the fall? Okay, we can't completely get rid of all the tools in the tool belt. We need some of those out there for a resurgence, for whatever may happen. The economy always takes a hit if there's a presidential change, which is very possible in the coming election. I'm not being political. I'm just saying there's always those opportunities for change. So I just don't see them going any lower than what they are now. I can't imagine they could.
You know what? I always say the same thing. I can't imagine the government does something else that just drives
Yeah, I know.
Really, you're right. So what you're saying, that there's no leverage if they keep dropping rates to get us out of hawk if things really kind of turn into serious.
Yeah, if it makes sense for your financial situation right now, you just do the math. Like I said, we look at, here's where you are now, here's what your closing costs are, here's where the savings break even is on the costs. And if the answer to your question is, are you going to stay in the house past your break even point, then yeah, you should refinance. If you're planning on, well, we're thinking about having a baby, we're going to need a bigger house, then no, you shouldn't refinance. You should talk to Danielle and look at buying something larger now and selling your house now, because inventory is low and the buyers are out there. They want to buy houses.
So even if somebody's at a 4.5 rate, it would still behoove them to go ahead and refinance now.
At least have a conversation with it.
Okay, definitely 5% and over for sure, right?
Oh, 5% and over, absolutely. 4.5. If you only have like $100,000 mortgage at a 4.5, then the only time I would say then that would be another consideration is, hey, we want to add the pool. So now let's talk about doing a cash out refinance, and it'd still be at a lower, I only suggest cash out refinances, in my own opinion, when you're gonna improve your primary home that you're using the money for, because at least it's going back into your asset, right? But I occasionally, like, there's a lot of ads out there that are pushing people to use their home as their personal piggy bank, which is what we had people get into back in 07, 08, and consolidate credit card debt and pay off student loans. Oh my God, like, these, especially consumer debt. I mean, if you got in real financial hardship, you can bankrupt and get rid of those debts. But if you rolled into your mortgage and then all of a sudden you run into financial trouble, now you lose your house.
Right.
And so
2008 was a prime example of that. I was in the villages.
I saw it happen.
Yeah, I was in the villages, and everybody was dumping all their money into their homes. I just remember 2006, and then 2007 hit, and then nobody can do anything because there's no cash left over, but they didn't have to worry about paying the mortgage. But then for emergencies, there was hardly anything left. So you have to be very careful not to dump all your money into your home if you're using up all your cash. So that's like a big no-no. A lot of people got hurt that way. Thank you for that information. That was great. So I have to put this out here. I wasn't going to. So you've heard of RP Funding, right? He's on television commercials all the time.
Yeah, we pay all your closing costs.
Yeah, no closing costs, and he talks about skipping a payment and that kind of stuff. He's got a lot of offices. He's everywhere. Why would people call you versus him? Since he talks the talk on TV.
I mean, in all fairness,
we have to be nice.
No, I'm going to be as nice as I can be. Okay. Unfortunately, it's right at the level of misleading.
Okay. Well, we need to hear that.
I mean, so if you call up, they're pretty much only offering that program on an FHA loan. Oh. They're not doing it for the most part on conventional lending. Okay. Because in our industry, you make more money on government financing, such as FHA and VA. Typically, I can't speak for them 100%, but the way I understand it is most of the loan officers there are paid a salary and a small bonus per closing, which when you are one of the lowest paid shops, well, guess what? You typically get the lowest paid service, and their fall through rate's incredible. From what I've heard, I have friends who are down in the Orlando market and have had a lot of runnings in. I've actually saved several transactions that have attempted to go through there. Yeah. So I can speak to that, but I don't like talking negatively about other companies, obviously, but anybody who says they're going to pay all your closing costs, just know they're going to give you a higher interest rate. So then, see, lenders make money in two different ways, either by charging you fees or they build it into your interest rate. Most lenders, most ethical lenders, are going to build it into their interest rate, okay, and maybe a little bit of fees, all right? But we're not going to say, like, I can always do exactly that. If your situation is, hey, I'm going to pay this off in 2 years when I sell my house in New York, then I'd say, okay, great. Why don't we actually give you a 4% rate, and I'm going to give you 3% back towards your closing costs, because you're never going to make that closing cost back in the rate difference,
right?
Okay, in that short period of time. Right. And then when you sell your house and pay off the loan, you won by the estimate anywhere between $2,000 or $3,000. You're ahead. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. People always go, oh, I just want the lowest rate, or I just want my cost paid. But they're not really looking at the big financial picture. What is your goal? What is your plan? You know what I mean? And that's where I think it's very misleading just to say we pay your closing costs, because yeah, you do, but there's no free lunches in this world. It's getting paid. It's just coming out of your pocket over 30 years.
No, I mean, I guess it's like the same thing in the financial world. You have an insurance agent, you have a financial advisor, you have a dog and pony show, and the insurance person says, hey, we're going to give you a 6% bonus, or actually a 12% bonus up front. But where are they going to pull that from? They're not giving that to you just because they love you to death, or they're going to pull it out of your interest later. You're going to make probably less money longer run, or there's some more things that are behind the scenes you don't know about. So
there's only so much profit in a transaction. You got to pull it out of somewhere. Or, like people are doing a job, they have to get paid for doing that job. So don't think that they're just doing stuff for free, because otherwise they wouldn't be in business.
Wait, Scott, what did our moms teach us when we were kids, or our grandmas. If it's too good to be true,
It probably is. Exactly.
there you go.
Yeah.
So there you go. I mean, it goes across the board, for mortgages, financial planning. I mean, Danielle, do you have any of that kind of stuff going on with you guys in the realtor world? No, because there's nothing too good to be true, right?
No.
Got it.
Well, what
Okay.
about the ones, Danielle? This is a good one for you to respond to. I'll buy your house if we can't sell it.
Oh, no.
Oh,
I
They
hate
would.
that because we all know what the truth is. Danielle, I'm sure you can speak to this. We hear this all the time. I'll buy your house if you can't sell it. Well, what's the reality of that?
Yeah, they never want to buy it for what they actually told you they could sell it for. That's all it is. It's just an insurance opt out. They're trying to get you in there in hopes that they're going to be able to sell it for you, and the comfort that if not, they'll buy it. But the reality is they're never going to buy it for what they are telling you you can actually get for it. They're
I've heard
gonna-
it's 20 to 30% below what you
Oh,
would
yeah.
actually get for it because they want to buy it, right? And then they want to flip it real fast. And the only way to do that is to get it at a very depreciated value. So it's super attractive on the market, which how many people are going to really want to do that unless they're in an incredibly desperate situation, right?
Right, but that's who they're appealing to.
Yeah.
And inflating the purchase price that they're telling you they can get on the market, letting it fall off the market so they can buy it even less, and then selling it for a better rate. So yeah, it's all over the place, but don't trust it. Don't go there. Find someone you can trust. I always say that in real estate, find someone that you can trust is going to give you the factual information on the market that you need.
Even if you don't want to hear it, sometimes you just got to be hit over the head with it, right? Your house isn't worth $1 million. It's worth 500. Yeah.
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 Out there that will just allow the seller to tell them, well, we think it's worth this much and we want to sell it for this much. Well, in some cases that works, but if the numbers aren't there, then you need a realtor that's going to be willing to tell you it's not going to work. You're going to waste your time. We can try it, but it's not going to happen. And that's what I would say when you're looking for a realtor that's going to work for you. Make sure you can trust them.
yeah, I hear all these commercials on the radio. It says, oh, if we can't sell it, we'll buy it. And so I
Yeah.
never called in because I've never had that problem before, but I have heard that it's not really what you think it is. So again, it's too good to be true than it usually is. It's just another hook, line, and sinker, which is fine. But yeah, usually it's not a good gig on something like that. Okay, so let's move on to one of the last questions because it's hurting people and people don't even know it. And so Scott, you might be able to tune in here. Let's talk about the forbearance rules. There's forbearance, and let me just tell you what I've heard and so far I've seen by a couple different people.
Mhm.
You can get this forbearance where you don't pay your mortgage for 91 days and then you pay your mortgage. That's one. And so my thinking is, if you can't pay it now, how in the world are you going to pay it in 91
Right.
days?
If you're truly hurt by don't have a job, how are you going to save it up and then pay it on the 91st day?
Right. So they're going to have to come up with a bailout for that. But then I heard recently there was a mortgage company that had that deal. And then they said, okay, we know you people are not going to be able to pay this back in 3 months. So now we're going to tack it on the back end of the mortgage in 2045. So talk to us about that and what you're hearing.
Yeah. Okay. So, my first word of advice is this is not a freebie. And if you actually are still gainfully employed or you're retired and your retirement checks are still coming in the door, there's no reason for you to put your loan in forbearance. Even though by law under the COVID bailout plan, anyone in America can call their servicer and no questions asked. If you tell them you want your loan deferred, they have to do it by the law under the COVID program. The problem with that is there's a lot of people who are not truly educated themselves. They just hear free money. They hear, oh, I don't have to make a payment for 3 months. And we've seen where people just stop making their payment. They don't even bother to call their servicer to ask for it, which that's the worst thing you can do because you're going to get lates on your mortgage. You have to get permission first. Secondly, if you can pay your monthly payment, as a financial advisor, I'm sure you would agree with this. Keep making your payment. Why would you want to kick the can down the road for 3 months for no reason? That just doesn't make sense. You're just delaying the inevitable, right? And then the third thing, if you truly are affected and you truly can't make your mortgage payment because you're a waiter or a hairdresser or whatever, and you literally don't have an income right now, then yeah, absolutely, those are the ones who need to take the help. But if they take the help, know a couple things. Number one, get absolutely everything in writing. Number two, if you know you're not going to be able to make the payment on the 91st day, before you agree or sign or do anything with it, you need to make sure you get it in writing that they absolutely will tack it on the back of your loan. Okay. And so the problem with that from an institutional standpoint is you have a recorded mortgage document at a county clerk's office that has a beginning and an end date. And so the reason why the industry is freaking out about that is because you're talking potentially millions of people who have to get their mortgage re-recorded. It's a loan modification. And so there has to be paperwork done, and they have to re-record the loan to show that you have a longer term. You follow? And so that's why this, just tacking it on the back of the loan, it seems like a simple mentality. Like if I borrowed money from my mom and my mom says, sure, son, I'll give you another 3 months, that's no big deal. But when it's a recorded mortgage, you have to record a new document to extend that properly. And so that is part of the issue why it wasn't just automatically done. If they could just automatically carte blanche add that to the end, they probably would have just done it. But it's not that simple. You know what I mean? But long story short is know what you're getting yourself into. If you can make your payment, make it. If you truly are affected and need the help, get the help. And then just cover your backside and make sure that you're properly doing a loan modification to add it onto the back of your term. If you don't feel confident with what you're signing, bring it to a real estate attorney and spend a couple bucks and have them review it and make sure you're not getting yourself into something that is going to make you lose your home in 3 months or a year. That would be the worst thing that happen. Yeah.
Oh, sorry to jump in, but I wanted to tag on a little bit. What about people who have gone into forbearance and are now trying to sell so that they can turn around and buy?
Okay, so if they want to sell and turn around and buy, the GSEs, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, just literally came out with guidance on this. So now I don't believe FHA, or don't quote me on this, but I'm not sure if HUD has released their guidance, but Fannie and Freddie did. And what they're saying is that as long as all your payments were made properly up until you went into forbearance, and then you obviously have to be gainfully employed again, and show that you can't still be on a furlough and do this, because no one's going to give you a loan until you're back on the job. So if you did truly apply for the forbearance due to job loss and income loss, then you're going to have to show, obviously, to get a new mortgage that you're back to being gainfully employed. But in addition to that, if you did file for the forbearance, that loan has to be paid off in full with no late payments up until your forbearance started, before you're going to be able to get another mortgage. So we need to do a simultaneous closing, or you need to sell before you buy. Now, if you're thinking, oh, well, I have a loan in forbearance, but I have enough money, I want to get a mortgage and buy another house, move into it, and then sell my house, those are the folks that are going to have a problem, because no one's going to give them a mortgage unless that other loan that's in forbearance is being paid in full.
Right. I've heard that a lot of people are taking this forbearance that still have jobs. So as a recommendation, if you're going to do that and your interest rate's at a 4% rate, why don't you just refinance it for 15 years? You don't pay the mortgage for 2 months anyways, or something like that?
A month to 2 months. Yeah. It just depends on what time of month we close. You always skip 1 to 2 months of payments when you close on a mortgage.
Yeah. So if you're out there, think you're being smart, be a little smarter and do it that way.
Yeah. Yes.
Danielle, did you have something to say? I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's completely okay. Thank you. I just wanted to ask Scott, because I had got word that there, in some cases, mortgage companies were requiring that after the forbearance, like you're saying, it just has to be paid, but and they have to be gainfully employed, obviously. But I was also educated on a version that said that they had to have 6 to 12 months of paying on that said mortgage.
That was the initial concern until the GSEs finally released an actual guidance. At first, everybody was just kind of reacting. So they had no guidance from the GSEs. So once the GSEs actually released the guidance, which just came out like Monday, we now, because that gives us the cover, right? Once the GSEs say, okay, guys, you can do this. Otherwise, everybody's just running roughshod, and every lender is making different rules that they feel comfortable with, because they're worried that, remember, there's always investors on the secondary market who buy these loans. And if people forget that your mortgage, you are the product being purchased. As crazy as that might sound, you think that you're the buyer, right? No, you're actually the buyer of the home, but on your mortgage, you're the product. So if there's nobody who wants, let's say, Fruit Loops, all of a sudden the world doesn't want to buy Fruit Loops anymore, then guess what? You're not going to see Fruit Loops in the Publix, in your cereal aisle in Publix, right? So when the whole back end secondary market got scared, what they ultimately did was they started making a lot of overlays in reaction to the fear of people not making their mortgage payments, or whether, because they're concerned that the investors who buy these loans and package them up and then they get sold into, typically it's in big pension funds with GM or some large corporation, they're packaged into mutual funds and things like that.
Yeah.
And if they're not willing to purchase those loans because they're scared of them defaulting, then we literally don't have a loan to give because there's no one to buy it. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Wow. So we've covered a lot.
Yeah. That's a lot of background information in the mortgage world.
No, good. People just want to know some of this stuff where they can't get this information. So I think it's fantastic. And I have not opened it up for a Q&A yet. And I'll let you guys finish up. If there's anything you can think as we're doing any question and answers, if there's any, let us know as we're going through it. But Mike, I know we've been answering a lot of the questions that have been coming in, but have you seen any questions that came in that we have not answered?
If you already have a 3.65%, I mean.
Repeat the question real quick, Scott.
The question was, is there any negatives to refinancing a loan that's already at a 3.65%? And my answer would be, look at the break even. Take your closing costs, which are typically going to be rolled into your mortgage when you refinance, divide it by your savings monthly. And if you are going to be in the house beyond the break even period, then go for it. If you're not going to be in the house beyond the break even period, then don't go for it. It's really that simple of an equation. Unless you're trying to do some kind of home improvement or take cash out to improve your home or something like that, then all bets are off. Because if, let's say, you want to put in a new $40,000 pool, and now you can finance that and get a lower rate overall on your mortgage at a 3.25, let's say, and you're only dropping from 3.625 to 3.25, but you're getting your $40,000 cash out for your new pool. Well, then you get your pool at a lower overall interest rate, then that very likely could make sense. So it really just depends on the client,
Great answer.
Good deal. So to be honest, I'm not familiar with Edgewater and its market, but I would just say.
And they're asking, should they sell it in this market? Quickly, and they're worried. So they need to sell it. They're worried, and they're not sure about this market.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors. So I would want to look at what their market is like right now before I really spoke to it. I mean, they could reach out to me. I can look into it, become more familiar with it, and then go over, the pros and cons and what I think. Because sometimes selling quickly is more about presentation and what the buyer sees when they walk in and how move-in ready it is and if it needs a lot of repair, whereas it may not have as much to do with the pricing. So in our market, we have a lot of buyers. Even in the mobile home market, we have a lot of buyers. So I would say if that was located here in Marion County, let's go, or in Ocala, centrally located in Ocala. So give me a call. I'd be happy to try and look at the variables and go over them with you.
Yeah, and it probably also depends on what the emergency is and if what
you're willing to walk away from, pricing it according to the market versus sitting on the market for a little bit and trying to get a higher price point. Yeah, it does vary.
Can I throw in one thing on that too? When it comes to manufactured home financing, conventional loans are the easiest to get, but a lot of people buying manufactured homes are wanting to use government financing, FHA or VA financing. For those programs, they require that the property meet all the most recent hurricane codes. And as a seller, if you preemptively get an engineer report done to make sure that it's all up to code, then you can market it that the property is already fully up to code and meets all the HUD's guidelines. And it opens up the market on that property to FHA and VA buyers. And you can, as a realtor, they can put that in the agent comments, which will probably help move that house faster because it opens up the buyer pool.
Yeah, and the buyer agents will love you for that too.
Yes.
Means
Does everybody say that again, Mike? So do we? Yeah, good.
Yeah,
So
on
do
the
you
whole-
guys
on the whole
work
state
with
of Florida.
anybody outside Marion County is the question. So why don't you tell us the areas you guys go into?
Scott.
I'm the whole state of Florida, because in the mortgage world, it's not as much as, Danielle's got to actually physically go look at houses for you. So obviously driving to Miami may not make the most sense for her financially for a single client. For us, we work, the majority of our clients never even come to the office. Everything can be done virtually, scanned, emailed, etc., over the phone. So that's never been a problem, especially in our transient market where 50% or more of the clients are from outside the area anyway,
Right. So I'm a Florida realtor, so I can actually work any transaction in the state of Florida. That doesn't really say much whether or not I know the market. Typically, I stick to Marion County, Lake and Sumter County, County. Those are my go-tos because I'm the most familiar with them. If I had a client reach out to me that were outside of those areas, I would look for a top producer in that area to service with me so that I can be hands-on and still make sure you're getting the care and the service that I like to give, but then I have another affiliate in the area that's on top of their game and can give me, information about the market and help us sell.
So basically mom's checking in every once in a while.
Absolutely. Every time I refer a client to another agent, I always stay on top of it because I just want to make sure that they're getting the same care that I would be giving them.
Okay.
So the question was for my phone number again. It is 352-427-1917.
And then Scott, what is your phone number?
My phone number for my office is 352-282-3020. I do want you to be aware I have a 20-person team, and they're all extremely educated on pretty much everything that I'm talking to. So even if you may not be able to get a hold of me directly, my team can answer any lending-related question that we've discussed here or beyond.
Got it. And you know what? I'll put both of your links on our website under partners or whatever I have on my website. There's already a section there. I think Danielle, your the company's on there, but I'll put your name and direct phone number. And Scott, I'll do the same thing with your permission, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yes. And so this was really great. And I know a lot of people, wanted to know some information on the real estate and mortgages. I learned plenty myself, which is fantastic. I didn't know how well this was going to go. Maybe I'm tooting my own horn, but I thought it went pretty well. You guys are a good team. I was noticing as you guys were talking, Scott, you're like meet tough love, and then Danielle, Sound of Music. I was like, you guys make a good team.
Well, I talk money all day long. It's black and white in my world. It works or it doesn't work.
I got somebody like that in my office. It's just right there. He's like, he's going to tell you like it is. It's going to be not sugar coated, which is okay. We all love those types of people. And you have Danielle, who is just as sweet as pie. Not that we're not saying you're sweet, Scott, but what I love about Danielle also, she's also going to she's not going to tell you something she doesn't know or doesn't believe or isn't going to be helpful. So you guys are a great team. I know you guys don't work together, but I know you refer out, but it was certainly a pleasure. Is there anything else you guys can think of that we haven't tapped into that people who are watching might want to know, or do you think we really covered it all?
I think we did a pretty good job.
Okay. So
Got
let's do this. Like 3 months from now, we'll have you both on again. We'll see where the market's at, kind of talk about some of the changes, because there's going to be ongoing changes. Tomorrow when we wake up, there'll be a new change about mortgages. And so that'd be great.
Daily.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for being here. You guys know how to reach out to them now. And we'll have them on our website. Go to zinniawealth.com. Also, if you didn't catch all this information, Facebook, this is always going to be on the Zinnia Wealth Management Facebook. So if you want to go back, rewind, and watch it, you can use it. Scott and Danielle, you guys can even share this on your Facebooks for your clients to watch also. So just make sure you're going back and looking at questions, because people will go back. Feel free for the viewers, if you want to ask questions later, a question comes on, just go back to the Facebook page, ask a question, and one of us will put an answer in there for you. So make it really convenient too. Okay. You guys, thank you so much. This is fun.
Thanks,
this is our
Cherise.
first
Thanks,
interview
Danielle.
panel. Yes. And
Bye.
we'll see you soon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Have a great day.
All right. So I'm going to still wanting to listen to me. I have a few things to say. Mike, behind the scenes, how long have we been on? Okay, so we have been on 55 minutes, and I like to keep my show to an hour. So I have a lot to talk about, and we're not going to talk about it today. And I think what we'll do, we'll end with something kind of fun. Well, not funny. We won't talk about stock markets or Social Security. We'll do that next week. And Governor DeSantis, he has some things that are happening, but we'll talk about it next week. No big deal. You probably hear it tonight if Trump's talking and you hear it on the news. But my daughter just graduated 5th grade, and it was quite interesting because there's no real graduations and no real parties. So we went through a drive-through, and the teachers, wove and had the balloons, and she picked up her diploma through the window. So times are so different right now. But here's an interesting thing in the villages. Mike, I don't know if you can go ahead and put up the picture. I love, the villages is interesting. Do you have that, Mike? Okay. They had, there was a story how one of their grandsons graduated from college. So there's no real party. There was no real graduation. So the villagers all pulled through, and they did a big graduation parade. I just thought I'm tickled pink about that, and why I didn't think about doing that with my own child. And that's quite terrible. But I said, what a great thing to do. And if you have other people who are graduating, you get together and you do these kinds of things, that would be really fun as well. One last thing, I was reading about baptisms and what the priests were doing. I don't know if you have the picture, Mike, but yeah, so right now they're baptizing via squirt guns. I thought that was, at first I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. But you know what? In times like this, you just have to do what you have to do. So I thought that was really interesting. My brother gets baptized actually this weekend, but they're actually, going to do it on the beach and wear some masks, I think. I don't know the whole lowdown, but some places are still doing real baptisms, but they might be on the beach and that kind of stuff. So I thought that was kind of interesting to see how they're adapting to changes in our new world that we're living in. I also want to end with markets have, had 3 days of an up market, a little bit down in the red today, a little up, so it's going back and forth. There's a lot of hope because of the vaccines that are out there, all the states that are opening, Governor DeSantis talking about, hey, we're going to have the NBA here, and Vegas is also going to have the NBA. And so, I love our governor of Florida. He's fantastic. He wants to get things moving and grooving. As long as everybody's really careful and does what we're supposed to do, we could probably still control this virus. Hopefully there's not a second wave. Come July, it's going to be super hot. Let's just all stay in the sun. We might be all good to go. But one thing that he did say before I end our segment that I thought was interesting was Disney World and Animal Kingdom and Epcot, they're all supposed to be maybe opening somewhere in July. So I'd be interesting to see how that works. I won't be the first one there, that's for sure. But I think, it's just a way to kind of get our Florida economy going, get hospitality moving. There's a lot of people out of jobs, and City Walk is open, Disney the Springs is open. So those are all really great things. And so that's for Florida news. We have lots of Trump news, but again, we're going to talk about it next week. And thank you all for tuning in. I really hope having the expert panel helped. If it did, just let me know because I'll keep bringing people on. You know, I might bring a doctor on in a couple of weeks just to see what they're saying about this and that. And I love the feedback. And we'll be here every Thursday at 3:30 going live. And my goal is to inspire you, educate you, get you to retirement and beyond. If you have any questions or concerns, you can go right to zinniawealth.com, the website. We have tons of free guides. We have the Little Red Book to Retirement. You can download that for free. Feel free to do that. I'll work on talking to the realtors, Danielle and Scott, the mortgage broker, about maybe we can create some sort of guide and direction that we can put on our website. So look for that in the future. But in the meantime, we have lots of guides. Download them for free. And we will see you here next week, same time, 3:30. Live by design and not by default.
She is a financial planner and advisor.
She's the founder and president of Zinnia Wealth Management. It's also a popular radio show.
There's a way to have your money in the market and have protected growth.
This holistic approach will help people get to and through retirement.
Absolutely.
You have to change the way that you think. It's not about having these double-digit returns anymore. Things are changing, and you have to have an advisor that's keeping up with the changes.
Your outcome is going to become very desirable if you have some sort of coach helping you along the way.
And our next recipient from the Media and Communications XP, Charisse
Charisse Rivers.
Do not have to risk all your money in the market to survive because it's about the retirement dream.